Students, I welcome you all to this video presentation on age structure population model. So this is for the PG student, PG first semester, for the paper Ecology and Behavior, and this is in continuation of the population ecology unit. Now, age structure, what do we mean by age structure in any population? Age structure means the whole of the population of a species is grouped under three different groups, that is pre-reproductive, reproductive and post-reproductive. Now, three different kinds of models were proposed by Bodenheimer in the year 1958. In case of all living species, it could be in case of human beings, it could be in case of trees, plants, microorganisms, animals, any kind of living species, we find that these population structure could be studied. Now, according to that, three different models. The first one is the expanding one, the expanding population. This is also known as the pyramid-shaped age structure. So this we find in case of houseflies, the yeast, in case of certain algae also. Here the pre-reproductive age group means the dark colored. In the first picture we can see that the dark colored triangle or the pyramid shape, the bottom one represents the pre-reproductive age group. So this is the maximum one, means the children number in the population is maximum, and that is followed by the reproductive age, that is the adult animals or plants or organism, and finally the least one, that is the post reproductive. So in case of population where the older generation of species, it could be in case of plants, trees, animals, any living species, we find that the older generation are lesser as compared to the reproductive or the adult one, and the maximum number is present in the pre-reproductive or the younger generation. So that is known as the expanding population. Next model is the stable one, and this is also known as bell-shaped. So here we find that the pre-reproductive age group and the reproductive age group number is more or less the same. In case of certain human population in certain countries also we can find this. Again, in case of certain living organisms also, other living organisms like plants and animals also, we find that the pre-reproductive age group and the reproductive age groups number are more or less the same, and the least number of population is under the post-reproductive, that is the older people or the older plants or the older animal, old aged animals. So those are found. So that is known as the stable population or the bell-shaped one. Third one is the diminishing population, also known as declining population. So here we find that the pre-reproductive age group means the children or the younger animals or the younger seedlings are lesser in number as compared to the reproductive, that is the adult one, and the maximum amount of the population goes under the post-reproductive, that is the older generation of human beings, older generation of trees and plants or any kind of animals. So that model is known as urn-shaped. Now, age structure population, we find it is different in case of different living organisms. So we will be studying about that. So in case of human beings, here we can see that from 0 to 15 years of age, it is about 21%. This is just a general view of the human species. Reproductive from 15 to 45 of years, this occupies a maximum of 42%, and post-reproductive is about 37%. So this data actually is different in case of different countries of the whole world. So this is not the same in all the different regions of the world. In case of animals, we find that certain dragonflies which can spend about 2 years in their egg and larval stage, and their reproductive age is about 4 weeks of time, and their post-reproductive is again lesser. Again, in case of animals, again, in case of the chaparral-tailed deer, we find that the reproductive stage goes up to their death. Means there is no post-reproductive age, and up till the age of 10 years, the deer species can go for reproduction. In case of rats, we find that the pre-reproductive age group is about 25, reproductive is 20%, and post-reproductive is 55%. So here we can see in this population of rat, we can see that the post-reproductive, that is the older generation, is the highest one. In case of plant species, we find that the annual plants, they start flowering, and their first seedling flowering is happening at a very early age, and this happens in particularly in case of the desert, where the environment is very unfavorable and very unpredictable. In case of biennial plants, we find that at least 1 year of pre-reproductive growth has to take place before the seed can produce flowers and seeds, and that is again under certain stressful condition, that flowering could be delayed for about 7 years in case of herbaceous plants, and the pre-reproductive could be variable from 2 years in case of Prunella vulgaris to 8 years in Geum revelli. Now, plants which are having shorter pre-reproductive periods have got longer longevity. These are some of the examples of different countries where the human population age structure are mentioned. So this you all can go through. I'll be providing the study materials also, so you all can study from there. So in this picture we can see that India in 1991. So this is pyramid shaped. Again in Philippines, in case of Philippines, again 1995, it is again the pyramid shaped. It means more of the younger generation or the pre-reproductive age groups are much more than the post one. Again in case of the United States in 1994, we can see there it is a stable one. Sweden also in 1994, these are the stable group where there is very less difference between the pre-reproductive age and the reproductive age as compared to the post-reproductive. Means the older generation people are less in number, but the comparative difference between the children and the adult, that is very less. So we regard this as the stable one, stable structured. Again in this picture we can see some more countries. So these are actually data from many different years, like in 1960 or in Southeast Asia. These are some like older data in 1991, population studies of 1991. So these are some more examples of human population around the world which we can study. Here again between 1965 to 1990. So again in case of Europe and North America, we find that the population structure is urn-shaped, and means it is a stabilized one. Progressively the population is becoming stabilized. USSR also between the same period, means before the dissolution of the nation, more of a definite bell-shaped symbolic. Means in case of the developed countries, we find that the population are more towards the stable one, while in case of the developing countries, the population structure is the pyramid one, pyramid shaped. So the trends in the age structure of various countries shows that in case of the developed countries like France, England, Norway, Russia, Germany, the population have become more stabilized, and older generation people are more in number. So what would happen then? because whenever older generation people would be more in number as compared to the younger generation or the reproductive generation, then the older generation become more dependent upon the younger generation. So such economies are actually the dependent one. So we can say that there is more of dependency in case of these countries as compared to the developing countries where the younger generation is more in number. For example, in India, we can say that more of younger generation are there as compared to the older generation or the pre-reproductive or the children population. So in India, that dependency is less. Now from this whole presentation we can come up to two very important points, that is, developing countries have more young population while developed countries have their older population more in number. So the other point being that the developed countries have more of old population, had once younger population in their country. So their population become more in stabilized one, more into the older generation only because of the industrial revolution time. So during that industrial revolution, actually the age group of less than 15 years become lesser, and people having more than 65 years of age had increased. So this happened only because of that industrial revolution phenomenon. So this is for today, and you all can go through the study materials also, and if you have doubts and queries, then we can discuss in the class. Thank you.